Welcome to episode 148 of the Necronama.com. The Necronama.com is proud to announce that we've partnered with the Horror Writers Association and the Stanley Hotel and Gemma Amore and Laurel Hightower to bring you the official StokerCon pre-party. We want you to join us on May 10th, 2022 at the iconic Stanley Hotel, where horror authors including Stephen Graham Jones, Gabino Iglesias, Haley Piper, Gemma Amore, and Laurel Hightower will be reading some of their works. Additionally, the No Sleep podcast will perform a 1-hour live version of their award-winning horror fiction podcast. There will be meet and greets, ghost hunting, and a lot of drinking with authors. You're not going to want to miss it. A link to ticket information and room packages is available in the liner notes of this episode. The Necronama.com is now a proud affiliate of Libsyn, one of the top podcast hosting networks in existence. See this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 free months of podcasting services with Libsyn. Get your show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Get critical audience-building stats and all the support you need to sound your best. They even do video. Bring your podcast to life and have your voice heard here, there, everywhere with Libsyn. Check our show notes for the unique promo code and get podcasting. Now in their 18th year, Fright Rags has been bringing you the best in horror apparel and accessories since 2003. Offering a wide range of products for your favorite creature features, slasher flicks, and cult classics. Officially licensed collections include titles like John Carpenter's The Thing, The Evil Dead, Creepshow, Jaws, the Halloween franchise, and so many more. Head on over to fright-rags.com. Make sure to sign up for their SMS and email newsletter to never miss a drop. Listeners get 10% off when they use the code NECRO10, all caps, at checkout. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now. This movie makes me hungry for eggs.
And I'm Don Guillory, author, historian, educator, co-host of the podcast. And, before we got on, I was having this weird pain in my chest as well. But then I realized it was just, it was just Takis.
The very hot ones.
The very, very hot ones. So Beau Johnson's joining us today. Welcome to the show, man.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Beau, as we ask all of our guests, have you ever had an alien burst through the middle of your chest before?
Not in this lifetime, no.
Excellent. Me neither. No, man, why don't you tell our listeners a bit about yourself and your many projects and anything else you want to talk about?
Wow. Okay. So I'm an author. I'm a father. I'm a golfer. I'm a booster. And I've written 4 books. The first one was called A Better Kind of Hate. The second one was The Big Machine Eats, followed by All of Them to Burn, and then Brand New Dark. And they're short story collections, and they're just the first 3 are all kinds of one-offs, but through them all is this main character I have, Bishop Ryder, which each book has numerous stories involving him, and then this last book is just a pure Bishop Ryder book. Yeah, so that's been fun, and I finished another book that will be published this October called Old Man Rider, and it'll be my 5th and last book. I'm going to hang up the pen.
What? Really?
Any particular reason?
It's just it's so I love being an indie writer, but it's just the grind of trying to get books out there and to sell books. It's just I love doing what I do. And boosting and all that, but sometimes it just wears on you. And you know what? I say I'm hanging with the pen, and I honestly think I am. I'll probably always write, but I think I'm done with publishing is what I should probably say to clarify that. Yeah.
I mean, I get that. Yeah. I just didn't know. It caught me off guard. So I did see a tweet earlier that you were up to 5 books in your name. I think it was today. I have no concept of time.
Yes, and, it was today. It still amazes me that it's even happened. Like when my first book, I had a publishing deal with Double Life Press, and I'm like, wow, nice. And then he went bankrupt. And I'm like, oh, fuck, there's my one shot gone. But it wasn't to be. And 9 months later, my manuscript got on, his name's Eric Campbell, who is the publisher of Down and Out Books, and the rest is history.
Nice. But yeah, I knew that a couple were short story collections. I didn't realize they all were until I saw that tweet. And I'm kind of fascinated by that because I have the opposite problem. Like, not that it's an actual problem, but you know what I mean? Like, I try to write short stories and then I'm like, oh, great. Now it's a novelette. And now I'm like, no, fuck you. I don't want to write a novella. And then I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. But I also don't write like 100,000 words. Like, for some reason, I end up in this 40 to 50 range.
That's my range too, yeah.
But so I just want to know, like, are you way more comfortable with short stories, or like, is it just what comes to you, or like, was it a conscious decision is my overall question?
Well, I think because I fell in love with Stephen King when I was young, and then I stumbled upon, like, Misery was the first book I read, and I've been just a fan ever since, or a constant reader, as he calls us. And then when I first got onto Skeleton Crew, and his short stories blew me away, and I think that's where I got first started on the short story. And I just, the longest published piece I've ever had is 5,000 words. So there you go, right there.
Wow, no, that's cool. I like that you were talking about Bishop running through these stories and like being still the main part, because that's kind of more like how life works, you know, like we have all these little short stories in our life that add up to our overall story, right? Mm-hmm. So I always think that's cool when writers are able to do that. I feel like my own writing is always like these moments in people's lives, but then I can never come back to them, even though people like my buddy J. Michael just sit there yelling sequel at me nonstop.
Sequel, yeah. Yeah, it's weird too. I've always said, I will say this, and I've said it before, but I didn't really realize what I was doing with this Bishop writer until the fourth or fifth story. I'm like, hey, I'm writing about the same character here, and I realized I had something with legs. So I said, why don't I try and explore it through his life, short stories? But then I'm a pantser too, so it's hard to keep track of when you get to, like, his whole life is 96 stories total. Mm-hmm. I wanted to get to 100, but I couldn't. I didn't want to like phone in 4 stories. I felt like when I hit 96, that was it. It was done. But where was I? Oh, I didn't know what I was doing. And then I got to my second book. And by that time, there's like 25 stories. So I had to do this little spreadsheet for timelines, because I am going to fuck this up hard if I'm writing short stories about different eras of his life. So that was before I become a plantser then, maybe? A combination of a plotter and a pantser. Sure.
I like that. Plantser. Don, what are you? Are you more like, you know me, I'm a diehard hardcore outliner.
Oh God.
Which is really me pantsing in my head for like 5 years and then actually word vomiting it once I know the story. But yeah, go ahead, man.
I am Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's me. But no, I think for the first book, it was completely planned out. I mean, it was nonfiction. But the second book was a little bit different, where the initial plan was completely different from where it went. And then the third book, I had the idea. We went to, I'd already written probably about 10,000 words of it. We went to Imaginarium, and I immediately came home and sat down for 8 hours a day for 5 days in a row and completely finished it off. Without an outline, without any serious planning to where it was going to go. It was just one of those things where I sat there, being around other people who were writing, being around other people talking about what they were doing from different genres, and I just realized, like, I need to get this book out, or else it's going to be one of those things that just sits there and torments me, like the other 900 notes I have on my on my board that I have.
No, man, I'm telling you, that convention was magic, because, we were rooming together, and I would come back from the con at night and stay up for like 3 hours and crank out like 2,000 words a night. I came home and I cranked through shit. My buddy Josh Ickes, like he got back into doing his stuff. Dewan, who's been on our show, he was cranking through stuff. Like there's something about Imaginarium that weekend was like pure magic. But to go back to this Pantser Plotzer thing, that's not what it is, but whatever. For me, it's just like destinations, right? Like I plot. It's like if I'm looking at a roadmap I'll use the U.S. across the U.S., right? Like I know I want to stop at these things, but I don't necessarily know the roads between those things. Mm-hmm. And so I get into this mode where I just like picture it over and over again until it all flows together. And so I think in that way I'm a pantser. And that's why I'm loving this plantser thing, because I think that's where I am. I think I end up, locking it down, but I don't know where I'm going while I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's a good combo. It's worked well for me the last 3.5 books anyways.
That's great. I suppose we could talk about this movie.
We're talking about a movie?
Here, huh? Is there a movie? What? I thought we were just talking about Bishop Reiner. Yeah.
I mean, we can do that. Tell me more about Bishop. Would Bishop let me ask you a real Bishop question.
Okay, yeah.
Would Bishop prefer Alien or Aliens?
Aliens.
Why?
More blood, more action.
Nice. So this is kind of weird. I'm normally the horror guy who is not a huge sci-fi guy. I like some sci-fi, but not a ton. Mm-hmm. And I hate action movies. Every time I watch action movies, I'm just bored. Like there's exceptions, but that's the overall rule. And I loved Aliens more than Alien. And I can't quite lock on to this, but as we were talking before we were coming on, Don and I were talking about how we watched the special edition, and I had never seen Aliens at all before. And so I watched it, and then I was reading about it, and I found out that all these key scenes had been cut. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how do you cut these scenes? Like, this is so much about the story and everything I love. And I can't help but wonder if I had seen it sooner, if I would feel differently because I didn't have those scenes. So my question to you guys is, what do you think of that?
Well, I think I was on that little talk with you before we recorded, but yeah, Ripley and her daughter, I think they should have left that in, even though as I watched the movie, I understood that she, she was caring for this girl, of course, like any humane person would, but it would have added so much to it if you realized that Ripley had a daughter that she didn't get to raise because she was in cryosleep. Mm-hmm. So I think that should have stayed in, but the other stuff, whatever. I'm not the director, so it's his choice, but that one I think was, that one should have stayed in.
Yeah, like she even promised her that she'd be home for her 11th birthday. And then, she's in cryo for, 57 years or something?
57 years. Yeah, because she was bouncing around and went off course, and they were lucky to find her. It was a 1 in 10,000 shot.
Yeah.
Which seems weird when you start looking at the math. Like, shouldn't those odds be even higher? Or, I guess, lower? Shouldn't those odds even be lower?
That's a good point, yeah.
Now,
I couldn't get past Paul Reiser. Oh, go ahead. I
have another little tidbit that I found out just recently, last maybe a month and a half, that I did not know that Michael Biehn, who plays Hicks, was not the original Hicks.
Huh.
Oh, really?
James Remar was it, and they filmed with him.
Really?
He got busted for heroin. See ya. Here comes Michael Biehn.
Wow.
And if you watch it in the movie, you can see James Reamer in there, but just from the back, so you don't really know. You think it's Hicks for sure because he's wearing the same clothes, right, that Hicks wore in the movie. But yeah,
so Michael Biehn got to fight a Terminator and an alien.
Yeah, all because Raymer was hooked on heroin. Yeah,
huh.
He's off it now, which is good for him. But we watched this thing called the movies that make us or shape us on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. I'm like, I've seen this movie so many times. How did I not know this little tidbit? But yeah, it was amazing.
Huh. No, that's pretty great. So, Don, are there any other scenes? I don't know what all was cut, but were there any others that you thought were super important they should have left in?
I think the only one for me, or only ones that were important for me, were the ones that made the connection between Newt and Ripley. And that was, of course, where Ripley comes back and they let her know, like, hey, by the way, your daughter's dead, because you've been asleep all this time and never got home. But the portion where you see the actual miners or the terraformers on the planet, and you see this community that's there, so you get a sense of, okay, there are people here living and having families, all this other stuff. But when there's this chance to go out and salvage something where this guy's like, oh, really, the answer I'm going to get anyway is don't ask about it. So if somebody wants to go salvage this ship that's out there, they can go. It's theirs. So you get to see Newt and her family go out, and then you see Newt having to react to one of the face huggers getting attached to her father. Whereas I remember the original version. There's the first time you see Newt is when, they're in the base looking around, and all of a sudden there's this scared little girl who's all dirty and by herself.
Yep.
And they're trying to figure out, what the hell happened. But
you don't get any of that scene of her earlier?
Get none of that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this solidifies it for me. I would have not liked it as much the first time around because this connection is what I love so much about it. So yeah, wow.
Well, I think the mystery helps, but I think by showing us her family and everything, that adds a lot more to it and the way that we would respond to her. Whereas we're not expecting anybody to be alive, from the way everything's described as far as the Space Marines going off to this planet, like, hey, nobody's responding. The power's down. This is going on. Like, we don't know what's going on. So as a viewer, you're thinking like, oh, everybody's dead. And then you see this one thing there and, you're not sure if it's a rat or an alien. And it turns out to be a little girl. So it helps, but it's not something that I think was going to make or break the film. But at least by having these options of I can watch the theatrical version or I can watch the special edition, the director's cut, whatever, you get more of that, which I also like because the way this director's cut special edition is, it actually adds something meaningful as opposed to, one extra scene where a xenomorph gets blown up or, a boob or something that wasn't included at the time. But then somebody's like, hey, this was on the cutting floor. Let's go ahead and just throw it in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, Beau, I kind of skipped this, so let's come back to this. What is it about Aliens that made you pick it today?
Well, because the other ones you said you already did.
I get that answer a lot now that we're up to 150 episodes.
I bet you do, yeah. No, I'm glad. I've always loved this movie. Like, everybody's talked about through times, like sequels are always not as good as the original. And this one I feel surpasses, like T2 surpasses Terminator. It only happens not so many times in your movie watching years. So I'm glad we got to do this one because I know it's action, but there is some horror in it, right? And it is sci-fi. It's got quite a bit in there.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, at the end of the day, you can't build on to an original movie without having pieces of that movie still in it, or at least you can't if you want the movie to come out well. And so while Aliens may not be horror, like it's still building on that original, and that original is a fucking haunted house home invasion in space. Yep. So we have to have horror elements. Yeah.
Another little tidbit: they've written this movie, and the last person they told was Sigourney Weaver. The studio wanted to do it without her. I'm like, what? Really? Just sometimes these studios, I got to shake my head at what some of their decisions are.
It's possible to have done it without her, but I've not because they had to do it with her, but I think it's possible that they could have done it without her if it's the same storyline and it's it just happens to be a science officer or something. They decide like, oh yeah, we're getting reports of xenomorphs, and because the other people had heard of xenomorphs, and that's why they make that comment like, oh, I guess it's a bug hunt. They had heard of them, but they didn't know everything that was involved. So I think it would have been really cool if you had, I don't know, a science officer or something that was attached to the Marines, and their mission is actually to check on the people there and bring one back. because that's obviously what Paul Reiser's character is only concerned with. He's like, fuck it. This thing can be used for military applications. This would be great. We can make a lot of money off of this.
No, I get that, but it's just they wrote like the character Ripley in the screenplay.
Oh, they had her in the screenplay. Yeah. That's
we should really talk to Sigourney about this. Yeah. So they're lucky that she signed back on, really, or they would have had to change the screenplay for sure.
Well, I mean, the interesting part with that is that's what happens in the script as well. Ripley's the last one to find out. So,
yeah.
I do love that we get the little cameo from Jonesy.
Oh,
That's
yes,
nice.
yeah.
You could imagine Jonesy the cat saying like, "Yeah, you don't have to tell me I'm not coming. I'm not going."
I've done it once. I've done my tour. Yeah.
Like, you're staying here, you shithead. I'm like, I don't think he wants to go. I think it's okay.
But I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off topic, but I hate how they did Newton Hicks in the beginning of Alien 3. That was just, I wish that didn't happen, but it did.
Yeah, the whole thing of, they died on the... I get it, but yeah, that was disappointing because my daughter was so excited with this movie when she first watched it, because she likes to predict in some cases who's going to make it or who's going to die, which is really weird for a 7-year-old. So she was watching it and she's like, I think the little girl and the lady are going to make it. I'm like, well, why? It's like, because they're the only ones doing the right things. I was like, oh my God, what? And then she even pointed out, it's just like, the little girl lived there by herself and never got caught by the alien. So I think she's going to make it. I'm like, okay, you need to start writing movies, kid.
Right. I also have a 7-year-old, and she's been analyzing films and telling me like, well, that one has the same basic, like this happens in this one and this one.
Right.
And then this one reacts, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to take over my show so I don't have to do it anymore? What's happening?
They can host it. They can come on here and do their own show.
They'd get way more downloads.
Let you retire early. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say to touch on that, opening Alien 3 is years ago. I don't know, you guys probably all heard of this, but Neil Blomkamp, I think that's how you pronounce his name, was going to get a chance to redo Aliens from the end of Aliens, like his own Alien 3. And we almost had Hicks back and Newt back, but then Ridley Scott wanted to do Prometheus, and it didn't come to pass. But that would have been pretty sweet to get a little do-over.
Wow.
Yeah. I would have enjoyed it anyways. I would have bought it ticket. I think his District 9 was that Blomkamp's first.
Yeah. I was just thinking because he did Elysium also, so it would have been really interesting to see what his take would have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's always been. I've always liked his stuff, anyways. But yeah, where did you want to start with Aliens?
I mean, wherever. We've already been talking a little bit about motherhood and stuff, and that's obviously a huge theme in this movie. But I'm open to wherever you want to go, man. You're the guest.
Well, I've always liked how Gorman goes out. Gorman, you've always been an asshole. And then with Vasquez, I don't know why, but that scene, I love it. I just love it.
That's a great death.
Yeah, they have one of the great things I love about that movie is like, even like all the side characters, they all got a personality or something, a trait that you remember them for. Maybe not Spunkmeyer or whatever, but the majority of them, right? And that's always, I found, a sign of a good movie when you can remember the side characters as well as the mains.
Oh, definitely. One of my big problems with Alien was the side characters were basically just, where's my money? And and so I liked this much more and how they're all developed.
Yeah. And I didn't know that Vasquez was actually the mother or the step or the foster mother in T2. Man, you find these things out. Yeah.
And she was on the Titan, and she's been killed by everything. Killed by not predators. She might have been. She's been killed by xenomorphs. She's been killed by a Terminator, and she's been killed by an iceberg, or I guess drowning.
Yep. Nice.
Here's the cool thing about this, right? One, you have Ripley surviving all the bullshit from the first movie, right? And then the way that they kind of drag her in to explain what happened for insurance purposes. So one, this just seems so bureaucratic in its absurdity, right?
Yep.
But then it's also representative of when you mix colonization and imperialism, capitalism, and politics. You have all these things, sitting in this one room that she's having to compete with, have to deal with, because her blowing up this ship, which again, adjusted for, I don't know what goes on with the monetary system between now and the years that Alien takes place, but it's weird that the ship itself was $42 to $50 million. I would have thought that they would have come in and said, "Oh, this was a $2 trillion ship," because even for 1986, we had planes that cost like $20 million. So, and aircraft carriers that definitely cost more than whatever this freighter was gonna cost. But I find that just very, very interesting as far as the approach that they take in. It's not about her well-being. It's not about her health. It's like, well, you blew up the ship, so we need to find out. You know what? In fact, we're going to put you under house arrest on probation. We're going to get you psychiatric treatment to determine what happened. So, but it's all so they can claim the insurance, basically, so they can claim the insurance for their ship being blown up. They have to put it on her. And then the fact that it's not even a situation where she's allowed to go home. Now it's like, well, you got to get a job while you're here. It's like, what? You guys saved her out of deep space, and now you're making her work for you. So I guess, make her earn her keep on this ship until you get to your next destination. So I thought it was weird how they handled that whole situation, but I feel as though that's exactly how the situation would how it would take place.
Totally. Yes. Agreed. Yeah. Daddy's got to get paid. Yeah.
Well, and you have the added level of a room full of men refusing to listen to a woman.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And I thought that was cool because that's such an ongoing theme in the first one. So like it just continues in Ripley's life as it does for every woman we've ever met.
Mm-hmm.
You could just kiss all of this goodbye. She is such a good line. Yeah.
And then the other thing is this, right? I loved how they start this film off just within the first 10 to 15 minutes, right? So you have this moment where she's been rescued. She's in the hospital. Jonesy shows up and it seems like, okay, she's safe. But then all of a sudden, when she finds out how long she's been in a deep sleep, we have the horror take over to where now something that she's been anxious about gets revealed because she feels as though, the alien must have gotten to her as well. And she has this nightmare about, a chest burster or an alien bursting through her chest. And I thought it was a really cool callback to the first movie to remind you, well, not even to remind you. If you hadn't seen the first movie, you're safe. You can still enjoy this movie without having to watch the first full movie or the first movie in its entirety, because you're already starting off at this point of like something fucked up happened to her, where this movie itself could be a standalone movie that doesn't need, you don't need to watch Alien to get this one, because she's carrying so much of that story with her. And when she interacts with other people, to where now you've got an understanding that this person knows what the hell they're talking about, or maybe this person is a little bit unhinged. But you see that interaction with so many other people on the ship. And then of course, when she goes out with the Space Marines to go check out the settlement that they can't contact.
I tell you something, if I was an alien, I would have that dream every night.
Oh, no, most definitely.
Oh, yes. Imagine surviving that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
That's some serious PTSD that she's dealing with. I mean, because it didn't even happen to her. It was something that was seen, was witnessed. It was a fear, a rational fear that she would have had, and anybody would have had, having seen that. Mm-hmm. You're definitely going to be watching everything that you eat to make sure that it's not something that's infected. Or, I mean, if anything, you'd probably walk around with a mask on all the time so you don't catch it.
Yeah, but then we'd be called sheep. Yeah. Oh man. This world, yeah. The parallels, yeah.
No, absolutely. And even the the whole weirdness to me of how they claim to not believe her, but they're also spending the money because they want to believe her.
Right,
they want these aliens to be there. But they can't get past their own egos enough to believe that she's experienced something they haven't. And that is so real to me. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, even if they don't, they don't care, right? They're going to get paid either way, or they can feel they can control what they don't believe.
That's true. Yeah. No, I like that. I hadn't considered that part of it. Yeah. What do you think of that, Don?
Well, I'm thinking about a couple of different things. So not just the whole thing of, we need to believe you so we can make some money. We're going to make the money anyway, right? We might make more money than we initially planned if what you're saying is true, right? But even beyond that, it's this desire to go out and you're going out ignoring the warnings, but you are going to definitely go out there because you want to reap the benefits. So I don't believe you say what happened to you. I'm going to cherry pick what I believe, but I don't believe it's that dangerous. You're exaggerating. If we go out there, we got enough guns, we got enough missiles, or as Bill Paxton's character, we've got nukes, we got this, we got all plasma rifles, we've got whatever other types of grenades and things he was talking about. It's like we've got all this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, like, having watched this film, having watched the previous one, as an audience member, you're like, that's not going to be enough, dude.
Not even close.
Because if there's one thing with being in the military or any type of engagement will teach you, in any or history for that matter is going to teach you, the element of surprise always overrules the equipment that you have. So it doesn't matter what you have on you. If I get the drop on you, I can win. So, if we're talking about this film and we can compare it to guerrilla warfare or asymmetrical warfare, that's one of the reasons why Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, those places turned out the way they did, because I don't give a shit what you have, what's available to you. If I can find a way to get around that, I win. Which brings me to that, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but brings me to that great scene where they're using this technology to track all of the xenomorphs. And they're like, oh, they're 10 meters away. Oh, no, they're 7 meters away. Well, if they're 7 meters away, they should be in here with us. Yep. And then it makes them realize, like, oh, shit, they're going through, well, basically what would be the air ducts. And they go through grading and they see that all these xenomorphs have come into their sphere, or at least into their circle. So it doesn't matter how many guns you had, how many bombs, flamethrowers, whatever you had going for you. These things are intelligent enough to adapt to those circumstances and get around it. Even when it came to when they set up those automated machine guns, the xenomorphs were just testing you out. And because the queen xenomorph can lay more eggs and have more babies and and create more of them, it really doesn't matter, how many weapons you have, as long as that xenomorph can produce or reproduce, they're going to have an advantage.
And acid for blood doesn't help, or it does help. Yes. Yeah. That's crazy, man. Yeah. Even though you got all these weapons, whatever, the splatter, it's going to get on you. It's going to eat through you. Yeah.
I think that's such a cool thing to give a creature. Like, what a great added defense of sorts.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right. I hate to get historical here with you, but
that's your job, man. What are you talking about?
I know. That's my job. But what I think, at least the comparisons that you can make, because, with Star Wars, it's about the Viet Cong versus the United States, right? So with this one, you can make the same assertion as far as like it's Western imperialism versus indigenous groups. Whereas these indigenous groups are not, they're claiming what's theirs. And they make that comment early in the film, like, oh, well, the xenomorphs aren't indigenous to this, which I've heard people make about indigenous people in the Americas. Like, well, this was their land, but they only started living on this land like 5,000, maybe 8,000 years ago. If they were there first, and if they had been there, you can't determine whether or not that is their land. So, and there's nothing that they can definitely use to refute the possibility of the xenomorphs living there or the claim that they can have on it. So when you have these moments where they're fighting against these beings, they're making those same arguments that explorers and conquistadors were making of like, hey, this is ours now. It's ours to take. Whereas the xenomorphs, you can't look at them as an invasive species. The invasive ones would have been those settlers, those colonizers that were trying to terraform the planet because they were trying to change it so it was suitable for them to live on it. Whereas the xenomorphs, it was already suitable for them to live on that planet because you don't see them having to adapt in any way to the circumstances with technology or any other devices. It's like, well, fuck it. I can breathe the air. I can feed off of whatever this planet provides me. We're good. You guys have to create this big industrial thing that you can actually live inside of in order to make it on this planet.
Yeah, I always took it that Wayland sent them there to build it to find the aliens. That they knew that they were already on that planet. Was I wrong in that? Yeah.
No. You're not wrong in that. And that also leads to that whole argument about them not wanting to believe Ripley, because I think they didn't want to believe her in the sense of her story and why she had to destroy the freighter or the frigate. But they want to believe her as far as like, this is how tough those beasts are, those animals are, and we can use it to our advantage. But yeah, it's totally possible that was well within the scope of their planning and going there, staying there, and all under this guise of like, hey, we're going to send some people to go and colonize this planet, which makes me question, what is Elon Musk's real plan with going to Mars?
Yeah, that guy too, man.
I'm very suspicious now after watching this movie.
Everybody wants to go home for the holidays.
Yeah. Well, I hear he's going to pay his taxes next year, or whatever. So,
well, isn't that just wonderful?
Yes.
I'm also going to pay $1 in taxes.
Yes. He's paying $11 billion, which is probably $1 to him. Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
No. So there's the deleted scene with Newt and her parents, and they're exploring the ship, and I felt like maybe that was there to make you think that the aliens were attacking the world. But I also took it as if this was the aliens, or the xenomorphs' home planet, that ship could have been anybody. And I love that the title of the film is Aliens, because we don't know if that's the xenomorphs or the humans or whatever.
Or Vasquez.
Yeah, or both.
Oh, which, by the way, I'm going to come back to that.
Do it now.
Okay, so there's that great line, right? The backstory of this is, I think it was Jeanette Goldstein plays the character Vasquez, right?
Okay.
They browned her up for this role. Like, even watching it now in HD, you can see, like, this is not like a natural skin color.
They bronzed her up, okay.
Yeah. They made her look very ethnic, right? So Bill Paxton's character, Hudson, makes this joke. He's like, oh, Vasquez hurt aliens, and she thought they said illegal aliens, so she came running. And I'm like, it's a joke that doesn't age well. You can still use it because he's making fun of a friend. But they chose her, which I think you could have had this. You could have had her being a badass woman, a badass Jewish woman, a badass character, just like Ripley, right? Ripley's ethnicity background is never discussed. But Vasquez's character is like so ridiculous at times with her lines. It's as if the people writing the movie had never met someone who was Hispanic before, or Chicano, because I think she was trying to play a Chicano character, or Chicana. You had plenty of Mexican American actresses that you could have picked to play this role. I mentioned to James well before the show. I said they could have gone with Maria Conchita Alonso in the 80s because she was hot. She was the one that she was in Running Man. She was in Predator 2. She was in a bunch of movies, action movies and crime movies and things. So she would have been a great character, and you could have still had her play a badass. But I think this is a movie, if they had redone it, they definitely not going to have somebody doing brownface in the movie.
Yeah, now that I look back at it as you're saying it, I can see what you're saying, but I guess I never noticed it because like she owns that role. I love it every time. So I guess that's why maybe I never even thought about it.
Oh no, and I don't want to have it taken the wrong way. I love her in the role. I hate the lines that they wrote for her, where and the fact that they applied so much bronzer to her. Like you could have gotten away with this as being like racially ambiguous. You could have made some comment like, oh, I was raised in East LA. I mean, they could have had all types of things where it's like, I'm not actually, but these are the people I hung out with. These are the communities I was in. Like, there could have been so many different ways they handled it. But I hate to say it was the 80s and things were different, but it was the 80s and they could have gone with other options.
I know you're saying they bronzed her up, but I never noticed. I guess I thought she was just tanned because she is lighter in Terminator 2 when I remember her, but I didn't know that they actually bronzed her up. But yeah, you're right. 80s was a different decade for sure.
No, I mean, her performance in this role is just amazing, though. Like, Vasquez, she's like just fucking great. Like, she's probably my favorite character in this outside of Ripley.
Well, I love Bishop and I love Bill Paxton's character too, and I love Hick. I love them all. But yeah, there's probably 5 that I like the best. Yeah, Paul Reiser, he played a good little slimy guy. Oh, I'm glad he got.
He
you know what I like?
Perfect slime ball.
Yeah,
yeah. But what I really like about it is they set it up early too. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know if it's in the other version, but in the special edition at least. Ripley keeps asking about her daughter and he won't answer the question. And he's like, well, I was hoping this could wait until after the meeting. And then he tells her that her daughter's dead. And so like, I could see why you would cut that because it's a huge red flag that he's the fucked up one. Right. But
right.
Like the way that his character goes as it goes is just so perfect because he's very open to helping her. Oh yeah, I promise we're going to take down the aliens and we're going to do this for you. And, he's always there to help her. Call me if you need anything, just like building that trust just to get what he wants. But there's never a time where it's a surprise either. Because he is the first to say, oh, we can't do that. It would cost money. Oh, we can't blow this up because we've invested this much, and even just bragging about, well, the corporation did that. The corporation makes these, like just these little, I really liked that it's not a big surprise, but it's also not oozing gross asshole the whole time.
It's not overt at all. Yeah. Yep.
He's just a great character. And Paul Reiser was an excellent choice for it as well.
I will agree.
He strikes me as the kind of guy that he would take your idea. He would talk to you about something before a meeting, and then he would take your idea into the meeting and then claim it as his own.
Yeah,
that's exactly who he is.
Put a little spin on it, but yeah, he'll take it. Yeah.
No credit at all. It's like, I think it would be a good idea for us to actually capture one of these aliens. That's a good idea, Johnson. It's just he strikes me as that kind of guy that he definitely would take the idea, or at least listen to your idea, and then claim your idea as his own in order to get a promotion or to get, some type of benefit. And he's so unlikable in this movie, which changed. In original version, that scene you're talking about was not included. It was in the special edition because there is no mention of, at least from everything I remember, there's no mention of Ripley having a family.
I thought so once I started talking and realized what he said, but I wasn't sure. So
yeah, no, in the theatrical version, there's no mention of a daughter.
That's so crazy to me because it adds so much.
Well, it does, and especially adds something at the ending for Newt, where when she finally saves Newt, and we're at the end of the movie, and when she grabs Ripley, she doesn't call Ripley Ripley, she calls Ripley Mommy, and for us to have like kind of that full circle, it's definitely essential, and that's in the theatrical version. It's essential for us to have that connection of, oh well, Ripley lost her family. We know that Newt has lost her family, so yeah, it's a little awkward for her to call her mommy. But you have the special edition where we now understand why Ripley is taking so much, putting so much more energy in making sure that this little girl survives by giving her the watch so that we always know where she is, by feeling that sense of despair when Newt, she thinks that Newt died, is dragged away and has died, or that scene where, that she finds the watch and she looks up and she can't find Newt anywhere until Newt starts to scream. And then she's like, oh shit, she's still alive. So you see that roller coaster of emotions that Ripley goes on, of loss, gaining some family, or at least being protective again, then going back to loss. And you get those highs and those lows because of that.
Oh, it adds layers for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the biggest things that I think would come out of having this in it, we see Newt's parents get killed, and we see the actual trauma she endured. Like, she sees the face hugger on her father, right? So when we get those moments where Newt is being interviewed by the military people, like, for me, that hit really hard because I knew what was going on in her head. And I think it would be weird from my point of view, not having watched the other version. It feels like you wouldn't have that same connection to Newt there. And the horrible shit that's in her head in that moment. She would just be a kid who's not talking, who, like, we know the colony was destroyed, but I feel like it wouldn't be as close to understanding her.
Well, it's not only that, but you also have, she's going through this traumatic situation, right? And the people that rescue her are military, and they're not equipped. This group is not equipped to deal with a child's psychology that's going through trauma. So, they don't know exactly how to talk to her. It's not one of those things where they could really engage her. So you can even throw that in as well of, they are not outfitted to handle this.
She's probably thinking they're not outfitted to handle these aliens that kill my parents. Yeah.
As it shows, they definitely weren't. They were good at slowing them down, but not at stopping them.
Well, and she shows that. She can tell she's not safe sitting where she is. Like, she's like, can I go now? She doesn't necessarily. Yeah, she doesn't necessarily care about saving them, but she needs to go. But yeah. I don't know. I really like Newt's character, and I feel like a lot of that is these deleted scenes. So that's very interesting to me.
And that will definitely do it for you, because the addition of seeing her family, it does change the perspective of the relationship that she has with Ripley. I mean, it doesn't really change it. It enhances it a little bit, because when you watch the film, the theatrical version, that connection is already made there, because these are two people that don't want to be there. In a sense, I mean, Ripley wants to go because she wants to make sure that this is done the right way, that people are safe, because they don't know what they're doing. But it's a situation that happens to them, as opposed to them causing the situation, or having a more active role, like the Space Marines are having an active role in what's taking place here, by actively trying to fight the xenomorphs, as opposed to, let's just fucking get out of here. We found a survivor. Let's go.
Well, you're right. It's more of an enhancement. It enhances scenes. Yeah. It doesn't really change them, but enhances them for sure.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. I feel like, I don't know. I'm fascinated by whether I would like this movie as much if I had seen it the correct way first.
Yeah.
Knowing you, I don't think you would.
Yeah, probably not. What were you going to say, Beau?
I was saying, like, I watched the theatrical, and I was fine with it. I still think it's a 10 out of 10 movie. But yeah, there are certain things that I wish they had kept in, but I'm fine with it too. I like both versions.
Cool.
Now Aliens 3 though. Oh, come on. The studio again. And then Alien 4, you know what? It is what it is, and then I'm just the Prometheus and whatever. It just goes downhill after Aliens, I believe.
Aliens, the quest for more money.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
I mean, that'd be a fun movie, but you know.
Well, what's weird is to mention 3 and 4, right? 3 and 4, in my opinion, as somebody who, liked the first 2 movies, 3 and 4 were not necessary. I mean, it's kind of like Jaws. And you made this reference to me earlier, or reference to it earlier, James. You have Jaws, and then you have Jaws 2. Okay. In that case, it took a step down. With this film, I think they're equally good. Maybe Aliens edges out Alien a little bit. But once you get to 3, you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this changes so much of my impression of the film series, the story, the what's canon, what's not. And then when you get to 4, it's like, okay, now Ripley's an android. This makes no sense. I'm sorry, Ripley is super enhanced.
Or she's a clone, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And Winona Ryder is an android. Like, this is weird. I don't understand what's going on here. Yeah, and like, I guess in Alien 3, they cloned her because they found out that she was pregnant with one of the Xenomorph's babies.
Right.
It was one of those things that, like, it made no sense.
It's the only way to continue the story, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm still wondering how this alien pregnancy thing works, because apparently you can impregnate them through face huggers, but then you also need this giant queen that pops out eggs, and I don't understand this recipe at all.
Well, I think they gave it so there was an egg somehow left on the ship that went to sleep in at the end of Aliens, which wasn't there. I know it wasn't there, but they retconned it in that it was there. And so that face hugger has a chance to give birth to a queen, and that's what Ripley had in her chest when she jumped into the lava at the end of Alien 3. So when they cloned her, she had the same queen alien in her.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, mind blown, James. Mind blown.
I'm just going to go ahead and tell my future self, hey, when you're feeling down about your writing.
There you go. Yeah.
Man.
Well, here's the thing.
Pretty rough. I'm glad I didn't see that. Yeah.
It could have worked if they had done it the right way. Yep. But I think they were so focused on, oh, shit, let's put her in a space penal colony. She's the only woman around, and it's just a bunch of hardened criminals. We're going to do something revolutionary. We're going to have Sigourney Weaver shave her head so she can fit in with the men. And I remember watching this with my dad, and my dad is like, those men haven't been near a woman in years. They can fucking smell her like 100 feet away. They know it's a woman. It doesn't matter if she shaves her head or not. And I just remember, I was a teenager and he said that. And I was like, that's a weird thing to say. But then I realized what he meant. He's like, shaving her head is not going to do anything.
No.
To necessarily fit in or get their respect. But it became like part of the story of like, I'm shaving my head to fit in with you hardened criminals. Like, it's not G.I. Jane. It's a completely different issue here. Aliens.
I think they tried to cover it up with there was a lice infestation or something.
Yeah.
And that's yeah. Man, it's so many bad decisions in that movie, but there were some good bits. But I always feel bad for Fincher too, because I think the studio took control of it, and that's how it ended up how it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I do admit, I like how the alien would take on the characteristics of the host, like how it was in the dog, and so it looked different than the other. I that was fine, except for some of the CGI. But anyways, there was good parts, but I would say there's maybe 25% good parts and 75% bad parts.
Would you agree with those numbers, Don?
I would go more like 72-28.
They disagree on one scene.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Charles S. Dutton, he was great. Yeah.
Yo, he's good in almost everything.
Yeah, I agree.
But there were a couple of we talked about going back for Newt. But this is something that bothered me at the end of, well, I guess should say near the end of the movie. The whole idea that Ripley doesn't trust, especially androids, based off of her one experience with an android that wanted, that liked or respected the aliens, right? But she goes back. It's just her and Newt. She's run out of ammo. And she notices that the ship is gone, and she immediately is like, oh, assuming the worst about Bishop, like, oh, you bastard, you left us here. And I'm thinking to myself, it would make sense that he would not sit there. You got aliens running around everywhere. If anything, he would probably just be hovering around or doing something. And he eventually explains, it's like, yeah, the platform was unstable, like there's stuff exploding and blowing up around me. Like, why am I gonna? He's like,
I love this part.
It wasn't safe. But for me, watching it again, I'm like, why was she so mad at Bishop? Give him a couple of seconds. Yep. I'm sure he's gonna show up. It'll be fine because this is where you're gonna meet. Or if he's not there, maybe the fucking aliens got to him.
She's not worried about his health. Nope.
Look, you saw a military jet or military plane just randomly crash, and you can't explain why it crashed because you weren't inside the plane to see what happened. But you saw a plane just randomly crash. So you have to assume that, oh, maybe an alien got on that ship.
Right? Nobody's like, yeah, she's a shitty driver.
Yeah. Which an alien got on your escape pod when you were leaving in the first movie. So why wouldn't you think, oh, fuck, no, the aliens got out here too. Those damn xenomorphs, you bastards.
Yeah, I just took it as she's like, fuck these androids, fuck me every time.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
For me, I was
funny
just
if she made a really bad android joke, and then Bishop comes up and is like, whoa.
Whoa, I'm right here.
You can't say that about my people.
Yeah.
We androids have been through some shit, lady.
Yeah. You've been sleeping, yeah.
It just reminded me of that scene in Back to the Future 2 when Marty's like going to jump off the building and then the DeLorean is there to save him.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this just like an 80s thing? Like you have to have the heroic part where the vehicle arrives? Like,
there were a few movies like that, yeah.
I know. I remember a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, we never do that anymore. Somebody should bring that back.
It's been long enough, yeah.
Wait, I mean, you can have the nostalgia kick behind it too, so
perfect.
It'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, talking about a nostalgia kick. Have you guys seen the new Spider-Man movie?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Oh man, that was fun. I'm about spent with Aliens. It's one of my favorite movies. I would say top 10 for sure.
Awesome.
Top 10 all time. Yeah.
Well, very cool. All right. Well, then let's go to the part of the show where we talk about movies you think people should watch if they liked this film. And Beau, we'll let you go first, man.
Oh, well, its predecessor, Alien, for sure. You got to check that out. Man, I'm still on the I should have had notes kick. Yeah, that's running through my head right now. I have no notes. I can't believe it. I just thought we just would wing it, but apparently
it's all good. You don't need notes. It's okay.
I always like Time Cop. You guys ever watch Time Cop?
Oh my God, I've forgotten about that movie.
Yeah, John Claude, he didn't make a lot of good movies, but that one was okay for a sci-fi time travel movie. I always give the Back to the Futures, you have to, all three of them. Number 3 doesn't get enough credit, but number 1's my favorite. I hope they never remake them. I remember Zemeckis going on the record saying, I have to die first before they remake them, which, thank you. You don't have to remake everything, right?
No.
Well, and even if they do, I just won't watch them and I will live happily ever after, Those movies legitimately, for me, Back to the Future is to me what Star Wars is to most people at the comic conventions I go to. Like, it is fucking sacred and I can't imagine it being redone. But at the same time, like, I would probably watch it just to see what they did. And then I would just say, that's not canon. It's fine.
Yeah. You tried, but no. Yeah.
But it would depend, Maybe they could surprise me. That'd be interesting. As long as Goldie Wilson, the 15th, is mayor or governor or something, I'd be all right.
Mayor Goldie Wilson.
So I like to do a double feature thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I like to say which film I think would make a great double feature with this, and obviously Alien is the most obvious choice. I'm going to go weird though, because I don't want to do Alien on this. I am going to go with This is the part where horror fans hate me. Ready?
Oh,
I'm going to go with my favorite Friday the 13th movie.
God damn it. I knew you were going to do this. God damn it. I knew you were going to do this.
Jason X. Because
the one in space. Okay.
I love Jason X. I love Jason X so much that when my daughter was not born yet and we were picking names, I literally pitched Jason Xavier to my wife. And she was like, I see what you're doing. No. So, so I just think these would be fun together because you'd get the real sci-fi action thing going on, but then you'd also get like the crazy sci-fi horror slasher thing going on. And I think it'd be an interesting view together. All right, Don, you're up.
All righty. Let me go ahead and mark off Alien and Jason X.
You were not going to say Jason X.
I will send you a picture of my list.
If you were going to say Jason X, it was solely to say, and because James missed it, ha ha ha.
You know what? You know me too well. I was expecting you to forget. I'm like, he's not going to say it. So anyway, other than Alien and Jason X that were on my list, I'm going to start off with War of the Worlds, Predator, the entire Cloverfield series, The Day the Earth Stood Still, any one of the versions, The Fly, Terminator.
Oh, that'd be great.
The
Fly
Terminator,
would be an awesome one with this.
Predator, Extinction, which is I think it's an underrated movie. It was on Netflix. I think it's still on there. Dawn of the Dead, and a movie that James will never watch because it is more action than horror, which is Doomsday. It's about basically the same thing as far as a company, or I guess the government and a company are sending this one person, this one strong badass female character to go into a quarantine zone to go, I forgot what she was supposed to retrieve, like a cure or some medication or some person. But they send her in there, and it's the same thing as what Sigourney Weaver is having to deal with in the Alien series. It's, I don't want to be here, but you guys are making me. And
I'm going to
listen to anything I say.
I'm going to throw in one more, and this is solely because all of the themes except motherhood line up so well. And I haven't done this in a while, but Moon would fit with this so well.
Is that Sam Rockwell?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I like that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Beau. So that brings it back to you, man. Where can people find you on social media or order your books and all that good stuff?
Okay, well, I'm on all of them now. No, maybe not all of them, but I'm on 4 of them: Facebook, Instagram. It's Beau Johnson on Facebook, Beau Johnson 44 on Twitter, and I think it's Beau Johnson on TikTok. Now, I know I'm too old to be on TikTok, but I'm having fun. Anyways.
No,
and you can buy me.
I believe it's Beau Johnson 44 on TikTok.
Oh, you know what? I think you're right. Yeah. Both TikTok and Twitter are Beau Johnson 44. And my books you can buy through Amazon or Down and Out Books at their website.
Awesome. Let's talk about TikTok, because we didn't do that, and I really wanted to, because I don't really do TikTok, but I see your videos on Twitter, of course. And
I poured them over. Yeah, I've been on there for about 6 or 7 months now. Yeah, I said I never would, but then I had to find other ways to boost books, and it really opened my mind. I could do other things than sit behind a desk and talk about books or just take a picture of books. So that's how I ended up at TikTok.
Well, and absolutely. But that's the thing that I love about them, is they are different. And I know it's taking a toll, and I know it's a shitload of work and all of that stuff. But your videos are legitimately the first time I've been interested in how Twitter can help with book sales.
Oh, nice.
And Don knows full well, he sends me TikToks all the time, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm not watching that. And I watch... He's like, it's 6 seconds. And I'm like, no, it's going to repeat. It's going to annoy me. But so your videos, I watch them and I laugh. I have a good time. I also learn about books I don't know. And the other thing I love about them, A, you look like you're having fun. And B, it's so simple yet effective. The book slam, I don't know if that's what you call it, but the slamming the book down, effective as hell, man.
Yeah, those were fun.
Well, what's that? And then I got to read the title and the stuff and see the cover, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, because Gabino does the Friday read, so I thought I'd do like the Monday plug or something along my own lines, and that's how that started. But then I try and change it up week after week, but then that turns into the grind too, to find new things. And lately I found this box of masks my kids no longer use from when they were children. And I've been doing these Marvel little videos, and I'm having fun. They seem to, my kids like them, but other people like them too. Some people probably hate them, but whatever. I'm having fun.
If people hate them, good. Those people deserve to have a miserable day. No. No, but really, man, I'm fascinated by, like, no matter how much we think we understand social media or how to push a podcast or how to push books, like, we're all fucking lost because it changes all the time. And let's face it, at the end of the day, we're all slowly aging out of understanding these things, or quickly, one of the two. And I'm just fucking fascinated by anybody doing something different. So,
well, thanks, but I'll tell you, it was actually, there was many mistakes that got me to where I am. Like at the beginning, I sold no books, zero. But then people took me under their wing at my first book, and like they read my book and blurbed it. Or I think some of them read it and blur. Maybe they just blurbed it. I don't know. I found out these things after the fact. And then I went to this convention called BoucherCon, and some guys took me under their wing there, and I'm a greenhorn. So I wanted to say thanks. So I bought their books, read their books, and then I took pictures of their books and tried to promote them as I could. And then in between that, we have a seasonal business here, and where I was trying to figure out ideas to generate more revenue. So my wife said, what if we opened up a little library? And that was how Beau's Book Nook started. So we made Beau's Book Nook, and then nobody bought any books. Oh, fuck. All right. So I said, what if I do these little videos and talk about this book? And lo and behold, people started coming to buy books. So then I thought, well, what about the books that I'm not selling of these authors from Down and Out Books, and the books that I've just read? And so I did these little videos of books that I've liked, and that's how Not Beau's Book Nook started. And then Steve Weddle at Do Some Damage contacted me about 6 months after I started doing that and asked me to join Do Some Damage, and Not Beau's Book Nook has been there for the last 2 years. And that's how that started. And then, like I said, 6 months ago, I got on TikTok, and that's my story.
No, I mean, that's just life right there. Like that thing you said about learning from mistakes and how it wasn't working, man, that's everything, because we all hit that point. It's what we do from there. Mm-hmm. and how we can keep tweaking it. But you hit another big thing in the horror community for me, and that's how we have to help each other.
We do, yeah.
And I don't know, man. Like it's been a while since I've said good things about the horror community on this show, solely because every time I do, it seems like Twitter explodes the next day. So I'm not going to say that it's the most friendly community like I used to, because I'm scared of the chaos I caused by saying that. But I've had so many good interactions of people helping teach me what mistakes they made and what they do now, or, oh, you're using that, try this, and just even introducing you to other people. And I think that we all just need to keep in mind, writing can be the loneliest fucking thing in the world. And not only are these interactions good for business and good for learning, they're just good for our mental health, and remembering that we're not alone and that other people are going through this shit too, and that we can have each other's backs.
Right. Yeah. Well, we write alone, but we don't have to be alone. Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with that.
So yeah, so that's what I love. So hopefully Twitter doesn't explode because I said nice things.
Yeah, I've seen some of those explosions. Yeah, and you know what? The crime side has those explosions too. I've always said with everything, it's like 80-20. You know, you're not everybody's going to like you. You're always going to find that. I've run into a couple assholes over my Twitter lifetime, and it sucks, but whatever. You just got to keep doing you. Everybody's going to judge everybody, and it's never going to change.
Absolutely.
And the good thing is the positive interactions that we've had outweigh all the negative.
Yes. Yeah. The positive outweighs the negatives. I've found anyways.
Definitely. I can't wait till we can get back to doing conventions regularly so that I can have more of these interactions in person. But, we gotta do our part before then, right? So,
and if I could just touch, I can just touch base. I just want to go back to something. I mentioned that I'd sold no books, and that's pretty like maybe 10 books, 11 books. But until what I stumbled into about boosting others and trying to help others, it was a win-win for me to do that too. I have to acknowledge that. Like, I was trying to boost myself at the same time. I didn't know how to. And then when I latched onto this, that's when like my third book has outsold my first two books combined. So I just want to put that out there. It's, everybody thinks that I do this for the good of everything. And you know what? I try to, but I was trying to sell books and I just sort of fell into this. So I have to always acknowledge that, because some people think that, I just, that I'm a saint or an angel, and I'm not. I fell into this, and it's just part of me now. Yeah.
No, I mean, to me, that's how life should work. Like helping others helps us all. We all move up. I don't know. I love that, and I wish that was the case in the whole world.
Yeah, because you see the daily activity. You see people that do help others, and then you see people that do nothing. And I know you can't see it all, but over the course of years, you do see the people that rise others or help others rise up, and others that just stand by the wayside. And I've run into a few of those, and I no longer boost them because I'm like, and they never asked me to boost them to begin with, but I chose to do it, and it's weird how you should always pay it forward is my belief, but some people get that. And some people don't, and you're always going to find that too in life.
I love that.
100%.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on the show today. And I just want to say, whether you keep writing or not, whether you change your mind and crank out 5 new books next year, you are always welcome back on the show. We would love to talk about more movies with you, man.
James, 100%. Don, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Of course.
All right, I guess that wraps it up for another week. As always, I'm James Sabata.
And I'm Don Guillory.
And we will see you back here at thenecronama.com.